Could Israel really back Lebanon's effort to disarm Hezbollah, even as Israel continues to target the terror regime and the war in Gaza rages on? And what about Syria? Is Damascus signaling real diplomacy or just posturing under pressure? Tonight on Insider, we dive into whether the region is on the brink of a historic shift, or is this just another false hope? I'm Maayan Hoffman, and joining me are former Israeli ambassador Mark Regev and political analyst Selena. Let's jump right into it. All right, so we're going to start with what's going on in Lebanon. We've heard even today more information about setting a date for disarming Hezbollah by August 31st. The bottom line is this. Do we believe that the Lebanese government is actually capable of disarming Hezbollah? Selena, what do you think?
I think they can, and I think they will because they don't really have a choice. We can see that America is putting Lebanon under a lot of pressure. Also, Lebanon is under a lot of pressure itself because economically the situation in Lebanon, as we all know, it's not good at all. And they need money, they need help, they need to restart the country, they need to restart the economy. And the only way that the Gulf states and the Americans and Israel are going to help and reset the country in a way is by disarming Hezbollah.
Mark, do you agree with this? I mean, you've been around the corner. We've tried to disarm Hezbollah for a number of years.
I agree with Selena's optimistic scenario. I think that's correct. I would even go further. I think inside Lebanon, it's not just the external pressure. The internal system in Lebanon also wants to see Hezbollah disarmed. Let's remember, right? According to agreements that go back 2 decades ago, all the non-state militias were supposed to disarm, and they all did except for Hezbollah. And my understanding of the situation today is the Lebanese communities that are not Hezbollah, the Druze and the Christians and the Sunni Muslims, they all agree Hezbollah has to be disarmed. And here is a country. I mean, they used to call Beirut the Paris of the Middle East. Here's a country that's a failed state, truly bankrupt, a country that's going nowhere, yes, that's been in downfall, has a chance to re-establish its own sovereignty over its own territory, has a chance to move forward, and they know how to do it. They have to disarm Hezbollah, and I think there's a good chance it can happen, but Israel has to play its cards very carefully.
What does
In other words,
mean?
we are still in 5 positions in South Lebanon on the border. We should condition our withdrawal on Hezbollah being dismantled. That will give leverage to the president of Lebanon, to the other actors, to say, Hezbollah, your failure to disarm is leaving Israel on our territory. I think that's necessary leverage for the government of Lebanon to do what it needs to do.
Do you think that after Israel would be able to withdraw, assuming that Hezbollah does disarm, that relations will shift and we'll start to see positive interactions between Israel and Lebanon?
I wouldn't be surprised if behind the scenes today there is already some positive interaction, yes? There's obviously, we saw the tweet by Netanyahu just a few days ago saying nice things about the Lebanese president. Right. I mean, that, and the fact that that's done means other things are happening too, either through the Americans or maybe even directly. There really is an opportunity for Lebanon to remake itself. It used to be said when I was a young child, that's many years ago, that we don't know who the first country in the Middle East to make peace with Israel will be, but Lebanon will be the second. And I think there's a real chance of getting a better relationship with Lebanon, which will be good for Lebanon. It'll be good for Israel.
Selena, I want to turn back to you because you're actually speaking to Lebanese people on the ground. What is the sentiment there? Are you hearing from the people that they are interested in some kind of normalization or even positive relations with Israel?
Yeah, yes, very much so. I talk to people from all the religious sects there. Like I talk to Christians, I talk to Sunnis, I talk to Shias. And there's a whole movement inside Lebanon right now. The majority of the people I speak to, if you would have asked them 2-3 years ago, they didn't know about Israel, where they stand, if they hate us, if they love us, if they want peace or not. Since the war last year, a lot of people started to understand what is Israel. What do they want? Like that, they don't want war anymore. They don't want conflict. They don't want to live like this. And a lot of people realized, I'm talking here about the Shia community, that Hezbollah has been lying to them for 2 decades. I was actually talking to a person from Bekaa, like northeastern Lebanon, and he said, I had to lose my house, like it got bombed by Israel during the war, in order to understand that Hezbollah could not protect us, cannot protect us, and will not be able to protect us ever. And they were not here for our protection. They were there, like they were here for like their own benefit, financial benefit and just a proxy of Iran that in the end brought us destruction. And he said, I had to lose my house in order to understand this. So yes, there's a major shift in the Lebanese society right now towards peace, towards prosperity. They want something else. They want something better for their future.
And it feels like that's happening a lot in the region. I mean, in some ways, it's with some of these rebels, even in Gaza, right, that are starting to go against Hamas and saying, wait, we don't want to continue to live like this. So, of course, that's not nearly as strong as a movement. Mark, turning back to you, if Hezbollah did truly disarm, do you believe that Israel would be secure if the IDF stepped back? I mean, just from a purely security standpoint, is this a good idea for us? I mean, we've trusted in the Middle East before, and it certainly didn't go well on October 7th.
I think if Hezbollah is disarmed, we can move back to the international frontier and protect Israel. Yeah, obviously, we need to stay vigilant, and we have to keep looking what's happening on the other side of the border. But I think holding out that prize of an Israeli withdrawal for the disarmament of Hezbollah, I think that's an equation that Israel can accept. And I would argue, you know, sometimes in the international media, you've got this dichotomy, yeah? Israel is all militaristic or we want peace. But what Selena said is 100% correct. The fact that we won that war in 2024, that we took out Hezbollah, that has created diplomatic opportunities that didn't exist before then. I've also heard from Lebanese who say, we thank Israel for giving us our country back, yes? It's not because they're Zionists or they love Jews, but they saw the reality of the situation that by defeating Hezbollah, we were in fact allowing them to retake their country. Because what has Hezbollah been for the last 30 years? It's been this Iranian stooge inside Lebanon, which has dominated the country, and in so doing so created a failed state of which was once, as I said before, a very successful country. So they are eager to exploit the current opportunity that our military victory over Hezbollah has brought to bring about positive political change. And in Israel, we have an interest in them succeeding.
And it's very interesting as we talk about that to think about Syria at the same time. It certainly took advantage of what the powerful acts that we did in the area, including and maybe even foremost with Hezbollah, in order to go about their own, overthrow and their own regime change. And now you have President Shara, he's talking about this security agreement with Israel modeled on the 1974 disengagement deal. Do you think this is a serious diplomatic opportunity for Israel? I mean, the man was a former member of terrorist organizations.
So it depends if you're an optimist or a pessimist.
Well, I mean, couldn't you just be a realist?
No, I'm trying to be a realist. Look, there are two scenarios. There's no doubt that the current leader of Syria is a former jihadist with a terrible record. Was it a youthful a youthful indiscretion, yes? Like Tony Blair, who was apparently had this flirtation with Trotskyism when he was at Oxford, yes? And now he's grown out of it. Or, and could be true, that he is a diehard jihadi, but he's being very careful now because he's weak. Either way, I think it's right to engage with him to see what the opportunities are. He's talking about going back to the 1974 agreement, which isn't peace, but great security arrangements between us and the Syrians. Some sort of non-belligerency. That can also have a positive effect on our relationship with Lebanon, because if Syria moves ahead, Lebanon gets a kosher stamp to do so too. So I would say to the Israeli government, what did Reagan say about dealing with the Soviet Union? Trust but verify. So I'd say don't trust, but verify, verify, and verify. Let's see what can be done with this Syrian leader. If it's possible to move forward in certain areas that are our interest as well, of course we should.
What happens to the Golan Heights if we move forward with something like that? So no,
it's very clear. If he said, yes, according to what was reported, going back to the 1974 ceasefire agreement that Kissinger negotiated between Golda Meir and Assad's father, yes? That leaves Israel on the Golan Heights. Let's be clear. If you go back to the 1974 agreement, Israel stays on the Golan Heights. And I presume from a Syrian perspective, that's why they're not talking about full normalization, because as long as we are theoretically on the Golan and there's no intention in Israel to get back at the Golan, they can't do, at least at this stage, a full peace treaty with us.
That's interesting. Selena, what are you hearing? Are you also in touch with people in Syria? Are you hearing from the Lebanese kind of what Mark is talking about, saying, if Syria moves forward, then we can move forward, or vice versa?
Yes, it is like this. Like they all say in Lebanon that if Syria makes peace, Lebanon will follow. Vice versa, no. Syria leads for some reason. Usually I have a more realistic towards pessimistic, let's say, approach. In Syria's case, I'm more optimistic. I consider that since the Syrian president came to power, he has done everything that he can, given the people he has around him and the region where he's in, to move towards peace, like through diplomatic means. what happened in Suwaida, we all know very well.
I was just going to ask you about that. I mean, I think it's so crazy. We're like, he's so peaceful, and like a week or two ago, we were having to try to defend the Druze.
Right, but from my perspective, okay, I don't consider that Julani caused what happened in Suwaida. I speak to people in Suwaida, and the opinions are very different, okay? There's some people that say we are having a problem with the Bedouins, with the people in the region, not with the government. There are some people that are accusing everything on the government. Everything that happens wrong in Suwaida is the government's fault. So it's very polarized in the Druze society, all the opinion about the government and about the Bedouins. So from what I see, from what al-Shara is doing, it's steps towards normalization, towards peace, towards a prosperous Syria. He said he wants Syria to succeed. And he's taking these steps. The problem is he has a lot of animosity, and the Kurds and the Druze are very wary in engaging with him, in joining forces with the Syrian army. I can understand them from one side. On the other hand, I don't know if it's the best approach. Like, I guess time will tell. They know what's best for them, and I think everyone wants what's best for them. Some consider that federalized Syria, it would be the best option. In my opinion, I don't consider so. I don't think that fracturing the country is going to lead to a better future for the region.
And we've seen that model hasn't necessarily worked in other places. There is a question, though, that's really weighing on me that I feel like as I'm watching, Lebanon maybe come towards us and Syria come towards us, this war is still going on in Gaza, right? We're hoping to get, obviously, to some deal, but let's be honest, we're also moving forward and going further into Gaza City. And the entire world is like literally condemning us, barring Australia, who now thinks that Iran is carrying out all of their arson attacks. Pretty much the entire world has been coming down on Israel. Why would countries like Syria and Lebanon, who are literally in the region, be more willing to come toward Israel than Western countries who are like us?
So if you want to be a cynic, you can say there are more demonstrations against Israel in places like Melbourne, Australia, and London, England, than there is in the Arab world.
But that's what I'm saying.
And the Syrians and the Lebanese, I mean, the Palestinians are somewhere on their priorities, but they're not high up at all. Right? They are interested in their own national interests, in their nation building. They have more immediate concerns, and they don't see Israel as an enemy. In fact, many in the Arab world see Hamas in Gaza as an agent of Iran, who they hate, an agent like the Muslim Brotherhood in their own country, which can be their own terrorist organization. We know what the Muslim Brotherhood tries to do in Jordan and in Egypt and so forth.
What it did in Egypt.
For all these reasons, there's an openness today to Israel in the Arab world, which we would be foolish not to follow through on. But it all is based on Israeli strength, right? No one needs a weak ally. No one needs a weak partner. In this part of the world, people seek friends and allies who are strong. And we have shown since what happened, October 7th, 2023, right? Since then, we've kicked back hard. We've shown ourselves to be a very powerful regional power. What happened in Lebanon, what happened in Syria, the 14-day war against Iran. We are there, we're strong, and that makes us a wanted and we're a sought-after partner by countries across the region.
So wouldn't it make sense then to just keep continuing, finish Hamas in Gaza in order to show the region that we do mean business?
So I think that if Hamas does not agree to a ceasefire now, Israel has to follow through. We have to follow through, and we'll have to go into Gaza City and finish the job there. Obviously, if Hamas is under amazing pressure, it gives a chance for a deal that wasn't possible a month ago. And then we should probably go for that. But either way, Israel has to show it's serious. I don't think we can't accept Hamas's demands that they have on the table, a total pullout of Gaza, a total release of all prisoners in Israel, including the people who conducted the atrocities on October 7th, right? The beheadings and the rapes and the burning alive. We can't release those people. We have to have a deterrence perimeter. And most importantly, Hamas cannot be in power in Gaza when this is over. And now, we're very close to that more than ever before. I think we just have to see it through, either through political means, by getting this ceasefire and hostages out, or by pushing through victory. If Hamas doesn't play ball and there's no diplomatic agreement, we have to finish the job militarily.
Selena, just to, I want you to respond to Mark, but also tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved with the people in Lebanon and in Syria. How are you having these conversations? And then would you align with Mark is saying? I want you to be able to respond to him, about the strength in the region and the role that plays in us getting these deals done.
Oh yeah, I agree with him 100%, 100%.
You know, this is supposed to be a debate show, and everybody just seems to agree today, but it's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I think the past 2 years are showing what he said, that showing strength means receiving respect in the region here. In respect to the Lebanese people, so ironically it started during the war last year. I was posting on my social media about Lebanon, about the war, because I really do think that Israel and Lebanon should have peace. I really love Lebanon. I really want to go travel there. And I started posting during the war for peace and unity between Lebanon and Israel. And then, I don't know how the social media algorithm works, but a lot of Lebanese started pouring in my DMs with, like what you were saying about, with thanks to the IDF, thanks to Israel, thank you for saving Lebanon, you're giving Lebanon a second chance, and all kinds of these beautiful messages. I even have like highlights on my Instagram saved with like a bunch of beautiful, beautiful messages that I got from the Lebanese people. And so I started chatting with them and asking them about the life there. And I ended up opening a group actually of Lebanese and Israelis, like a peace group. And we're gonna soon be like 1 year old, our group. Yes, and we're talking daily, like literally daily. We became like family there, and we're talking about everything, our daily lives, politics, finance, the economy in Lebanon, the stuff that happened in Israel.
And this all started because of the strength that Israel displayed against Hezbollah. So now I want to take us even a step further to this regional vision. You know, back in 2020, we signed, about to have our anniversary, right? We signed normalization agreements with several Gulf states, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, which isn't really existing anymore. And, you know, we created this Abraham Accords concept. The idea, this vision has always been to bring Saudi Arabia into the fold as the leader of, you know, the Gulf states. If Lebanon and Syria end up not full normalization, as you mentioned, but kind of warming up to Israel in this new way, do you believe that that could actually be the catalyst to that bigger vision that Trump has? Will it shift the Middle East? So
not only I think so, I'd remind you that in January of this year, like a week before the transition between Biden and Trump, Secretary of State at the time, Blinken, gave an interview to the New York Times, to a podcast on the New York Times. And he said very clearly that the deal with Saudi Arabia is there. This is, once again, January this year, there wasn't a ceasefire at the time, the war was going on. And he said, nevertheless, and he was sort of not angry, but he was sort of expressing his concern that Trump was going to get the benefit of what the serious work that his administration did. So if he thought it was possible, how much more can we think it's possible? And the bottom line is this. There's been, over the last few years, there's been this moving together of the Gulf and Israel. We have common interests. We both share concerns about Iran. We both want to fight and destroy the radical Islamist extremists, right? They threaten them, they threaten us. We both maybe are worried about some traditional allies turning in, a pivot to Asia, isolationism and so forth. We know we have to be strong in the region. And for all those reasons, I think this reconciliation between Israel and Gulf states like Saudi Arabia is inevitable. If that happens, take me 2 years, 5 years from now, what does it look like then in this region? I mean, is like that Messiah? So, you know, Israelis now can get, you know, a bit down because they see all this, you know, people around the world in Europe. Big protests also. Yeah. But the truth is, we can be optimistic because I think if you say in 5 years from now, Israel will have stronger and better relations with the Arab countries. Our economy will be booming again because the high-tech revolution in Israel makes us perfectly positioned to succeed in the 21st century. That opens up new doors in Asia with Japan and South Korea and countries like that, right? So strong relations with traditional partners, new relations with new partners, and to add all that, you know, I believe that Israel will be a success story. And ultimately, those people in France and in Canada and Australia demonstrating against Israel, can they really, in the long term, still be more anti-Israel than the Arabs themselves if the Arabs are making peace with Israel? They'll become irrelevant. Well, and I think that's my next question. I mean, you're somebody who's so active on social media, and I'm sure you're watching all of this insane anti-Israel rhetoric that's going on all the social networks. And I mean, what you just said is what I'm thinking about. You know, what happens to Britain if they've taken such a hard stand, and all of a sudden there's peace in the region? Does Britain lose its standing? You know, governments come and go. Like you asked, what is it going to be in 5 years from now?
it's going to be a new leadership in Britain. It's going to be a new leadership probably in like most of the countries in Europe. So I think new leaderships are going to adapt to the reality that's happening worldwide, globally. And if they see a peaceful Middle East, of course, they're not going to pick on Israel to hate when all the Arab states are going to be aligned with us. And I wanted to add something as to like how we see ourselves in the next 5 years. I don't think we need to wait for 5 years. I think that everything you said, like about all the peace process in the region and like all the alignments with the Arab countries, everything is going to get unlocked instantly the moment the war in Gaza is over. Because everyone is waiting for that. They cannot move due to the stance with the Arab world and the Muslims. They have to, stick together, at least in appearance. But once the war is over, I think we're going to see miracles happening here in a fast pace.
For sure. I mean, it's interesting to think about that. When I was reporting on Brazil this morning, and the chaos that is going on with Brazil not accepting our ambassador, and just thinking back a few years ago with the previous government, how we were at the heyday with Brazil, and today, a few years later, look at where we're standing. So I guess things really can change in an instant. Mark, we're at the very end of the show, and I just want you to give us some final sentiments. Go back to Lebanon, go back to Syria, and tell me next steps. What is the first step that needs to happen for us to achieve the agreement with Lebanon, and what is the first step that needs to happen to achieve it with Syria? Final statement.
So I would see more of the same on Lebanon. Keep the pressure up for Hezbollah to disarm. The Lebanese people want it. The world wants it. The Arab states want it. And it's possible. It won't happen overnight. It's a process, but that process is underway, and we've got to make sure it continues. With Syria, we have a dilemma. We've got a president in Syria who's, let's say, a questionable customer. On the other hand, we have no interest, I don't think, in a civil war in Syria. That creates an opening for Hezbollah and Iran to come back. The last thing we want, we've got to continue, and I think we have been, continuing to play our cards very coolly, as I said before. Don't trust and verify, and see if it's possible to make an agreement with this man based on solid security arrangements.
Well, thank you for that. Unfortunately, that is all that we have for this edition of Insider tonight. For more analysis from Israel and the Middle East, watch our 24/7 streaming channel and download the ILTV app. I'm Maayan Hoffman. Thanks for watching. Have a pleasant evening.